In July of 1995, Chicago hit 106 degrees for 5 days straight, and by the time it finally broke, 739 people were dead. Almost all of them inside their own homes with the windows sealed shut, because that's what you do when you're scared of the heat. You seal yourself in with it. 3 hours away, old Amish farmhouses with no air conditioning and no generator rode out that same heat wave, and nobody ever wrote a headline about it. They never built their lives around the assumption that the grid would bail them out in the first place, so losing it didn't catch them off guard. Here are the 10 things they do instead the moment the power goes out and the heat starts climbing. Number 6 is the one that quietly sends more people to the hospital than anything else on this list. 1. Pick one room and commit. Stop trying to cool your entire house out of sheer optimism. The moment the power drops and the heat starts climbing, pick one interior room, the lowest floor available, nothing facing the afternoon sun, and move everything that matters into it: water, people, whatever battery fan you own. A house with no air conditioning climbs several degrees an hour once the cooling stops, and by hour 3 the room you're standing in can be nearly as hot as the driveway outside. It's basic thermodynamics wearing a common-sense costume. Old-order households make this call before summer even starts, picking their coolest room the way the rest of us pick a show to watch, once, and then never thinking about it again. You're making the call right now, mid-heat wave, which is objectively the worst possible time to be making decisions, so make it fast and stop debating whether the guest room counts. 2. Blackout. The windows picking the room handles half the problem. The other half is what's still letting the sun in. Every south and west-facing window in your house spends the afternoon working exactly like a magnifying glass pointed at your furniture, and most of the heat that builds up indoors during a heat wave comes in through the glass, not the walls. Cover them. Heavy blankets, old quilts, foil taped straight to the glass if you're feeling committed. From the street, blacked-out windows and foil on the glass make your house look like a meth lab. That's a fair trade for a living room that doesn't hit triple digits by 3 in the afternoon. This costs nothing and takes 10 minutes, which are both things people claim they don't have, right up until the alternative is heat stroke. Homes without electricity have been blocking sun this exact way for centuries, long before anyone called it solar heat gain, because you don't need a science degree to notice which room turns into an oven every single afternoon. 3. The wet sheet trick. Blocking the sun keeps heat from getting in. This next one actively pulls heat back out. Hang a wet sheet in a doorway with air moving through it, and the evaporating water pulls heat straight out of the air. That alone can drop the temperature 5 to 10 degrees on the downwind side. This has worked for centuries in dry climates, and it will absolutely not work for you if you live somewhere humid, because there's nowhere for that water to go once the air's already saturated. Try it in a swamp and you haven't cooled anything down. You've built yourself a free, extremely damp sauna. Know your own climate before you bet a heat wave on a bedsheet. If you're dry, this is close to free air conditioning. If you're humid, save the sheet, skip straight to the next trick, and stop standing in a doorway wondering why nothing's happening. 4. Trade day for night. That's your daytime move. Nighttime needs the opposite one. Most people leave the house sealed up the same way at 2 a.m. as they did at 2 p.m., which defeats the entire point of the sun going down. The second it's cooler outside than in, open every window and door you own and let that air move straight through the house. Right before sunrise, seal it all back up exactly the way you blacked it out the day before. You're not just airing the place out, you're trapping the coolest air of the whole day inside your walls, floors, and furniture, so it can fight the heat for you tomorrow afternoon while you're not even around to manage it. Old-order households treat this as non-negotiable every single night of a heat wave, which is exactly why their homes never fully catch up to the temperature outside. 5. Cool the wrists, not the ego. You've handled the house, now handle yourself. If your plan is ice water straight onto your skin, you're working against your own body. Ice constricts the blood vessels near the surface, which traps heat instead of releasing it, so congratulations. You made yourself feel briefly better while actually holding heat in. What works instead is cool water, not cold, applied to your wrists, your neck, and the inside of your elbows, exactly where blood vessels sit closest to the surface. No hashtag necessary, no biohacking angle, just simple physics you can feel working in under a minute. Generations of people figured this out with a bowl of well water and zero interest in the biology behind it. They just noticed what worked and kept doing it. 6. Salt your water before the heat does. You just used water on your skin, but does drinking more of it always help? Not exactly. And this is where a lot of people accidentally hurt themselves. Drinking plain water for hours in extreme heat, without replacing the salt you're sweating out, can dilute the sodium in your blood to dangerous levels, a condition called hyponatremia, which sounds made up, right up until you're the one who's suddenly confused and can't explain why. Mix a bit of salt and sugar into your water the moment a heat wave starts. The same rough formula old households used generations before anyone packaged it into a labeled electrolyte sachet at the pharmacy and charged you for the convenience. This isn't about chugging sports drinks for fun. It's about giving your body what plain water alone doesn't replace. If you're feeling confused, unusually weak, or exhausted despite drinking water all day, stop treating it like a hydration issue. That's an ambulance call, not a home remedy. 7. The medicine clock. Nobody sets waters sorted. Now check your medicine cabinet, because heat doesn't only come after people. A lot of common medications, including several for heart conditions, thyroid issues, and diabetes, start breaking down once they sit above roughly 77 degrees, a temperature your house can blow straight past in a single powerless afternoon without anybody noticing until it's too late. Insulin is one of the most sensitive, and losing its effectiveness isn't something you can see, smell, or guess your way around. Nobody thinks about any of this until they're standing in a hot kitchen holding a bottle of medication and wondering if it's still good. Figure out now, before it's an emergency, which medications in your house are heat sensitive and where they're going the moment the power drops. This is a 5-minute conversation in the spring. It's a full-blown crisis in July. 8. The 4-hour rule. While you're in the medicine cabinet, swing by the kitchen next. Once the power's out, your fridge is safe for about 4 hours before everything inside becomes a bacterial guessing game, and your freezer buys you closer to a day or two depending on how full it is, since a packed freezer holds cold far longer than a half-empty one. Past those windows, you're basically running a science experiment on your own stomach. Know the clock the second the power drops, and eat accordingly, working through what needs to go first instead of figuring it out 3 days later by smell, when your only real choice left is damage control. 9. Know your cooling center before you need one. So why did that heat wave kill 739 people in a city that never actually lost power everywhere? It wasn't the heat alone, it was who was facing it by themselves. The single biggest factor in who survived that 1995 Chicago heat wave and who didn't wasn't income or air conditioning. It was whether somebody was isolated. People who left for a cooling center, a library, anywhere with air conditioning and other humans, survived at dramatically higher rates than people who toughed it out alone. Old order communities check on their elderly and isolated the moment the temperature spikes, because nobody there rides out a heat wave completely by themselves, and it costs them nothing except actually showing up at someone's door and knocking. Find your nearest cooling center today, while it's a calm search on your phone and not a decision you're making while heat-sick, confused, and no longer thinking clearly enough to drive there safely. 10. Sleep low. One more thing nobody thinks about until it's 2 a.m. and they're still wide awake. Heat rises. Your bed, propped up in the warmest layer of air in the room, is one of the worst places you can possibly sleep during a heat wave. Move your sleeping setup down to the lowest floor of the house, directly onto tile or concrete if you've got it, because that surface holds a noticeably cooler temperature than a mattress sitting up in warm air all night. It's not comfortable the first night, and nobody's pretending a bare floor feels like a mattress, but it's the difference between a body that actually recovers from the day's heat and one that's still cooked and exhausted at sunrise, and by night 3 of a heat wave, that difference is the whole ballgame. None of these 10 habits need a generator, a window unit, or a grid that's willing to cooperate. Old order households made every one of these decisions in the cool months, long before the temperature ever hit triple digits, which is exactly why none of it felt like a crisis by the time it actually mattered. Every one of these habits echoes guidance FEMA and public health researchers have documented from real heat emergencies. It just never got explained without a PDF attached. If this changed how you think about the next heat wave, Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling me which one of these 10 you're actually trying, and get to work on it now, before the next heat wave makes the decision for you.